Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. And good afternoon, everybody. Just after noon right now, 12:02 on this fine Wednesday, where I'm at in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And it's an all-new edition of the Buffaloes podcast, presented by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico Goaltenders, as well as Elite Prospects. And Terrico, we're also brought to you by Pilot Mound's lovely sponsors and partners, as you'll see scrolling below the screen, or down below on the screen throughout this episode. This is episode 5, a lot to get into today, as we take a look back at the past weekend of games for the 4 programs in the academy, as the U15s were in action, same with the U17s for a game down at Blackjack Stewart Arena. The U18s finally getting into action. Their first 3 games of the year, flat out. Like, they haven't played any preseason exhibition games leading up to this. And, we'll have some more news about them coming up throughout this one. And, of course, the female U18s played a game against the Balmoral Hall squad down in Winnipeg, Manitoba at the Hockey for All Center this past Friday. To join me first up to talk about all this is Gordie Tumilson. We also break the news about Sadie, Swanton, as well as Cole Anderville making their respective provincial teams that they were trying out for. More on that and much more coming up with Gordie Tumilson on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Gordie Tumilson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Gordie, we start off with news about Sadie Swanton and Cole Anderville both making their respective provincial teams. For Sadie, the U18 female squad, and for Cole, the U16 WHL Cup team for Manitoba. Gavin Hildebrand, unfortunately, not making the squad this year. But Gordie, take us through some exciting news from down in Pilot Mound.
Well, the Sadie Swanton thing's great. It's great news for our program. It's huge news for Sadie. I mean, it's wonderful for her. She's a great girl and she works really hard. She's from Dauphin, Manitoba, and she's on a team that hasn't been great for her year last year, and this particular start of this season. She's kept her nose and her chin up, and off she goes and plays hard every game. And she's been recognized as being a really, really sound defenseman in Manitoba for her age group. And so congratulations to her on making this team. I know that she's thrilled, and hoping we can get her on the show later on to talk about it, because it's more important for her to talk about it than me. But at the end of the day, what a great feat for a small rural town girl. to make it on a provincial team. That's a pretty good provincial team because they've got some huge star players throughout Manitoba on all of those AAA teams that we have here that are really good, and of course the other academy teams in the province. So, way to go, Sadie. That's just great news.
Yeah, and of course, Sadie, strong player coming into her second season with the academy, and yeah, really true bright spot on this year's U18 female squad. But for Cole Anderville, Gordie, him making this squad, I feel like it's not really surprising if you watch this guy play. Talk about Cole getting this recognition and being named to Team Manitoba's WHL Cup team.
Yeah, I'm not sure that generational, we talk about, how good players are, and you get a Connor McDavid who might be generational in his time, and who else is. But this guy's pretty close to that. I mean, he's jumped from U17 first year to right into U18 and seems to fit nicely. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. So, his advancement is all on him, and of course the good coaching he's getting along the way, the supportive parents, the support of our academy certainly, and again his coaching staff here, and he's fit right into that U18 this particular team and Team Manitoba, and so good on him to be that hockey IQ, that high of a hockey IQ, to be able to jump this quickly and this affirmative with a lot of really good hockey talent in Manitoba. I'm not sure that the public, because we don't watch everybody, we don't see everybody, really understands how many good hockey players come out of everywhere in the country, but certainly out of Manitoba. And if you looked in the NHL, you'd probably be humongously shocked at how many NHL guys are from Manitoba, but we didn't hear their and never heard their name. And Cole Anderville is one of those guys we're probably going to hear. Oh, we certainly are going to recognize it. But at the end of the day, a lot of other folks won't, because where does this guy come from? I know that he's a surprise guy for a lot of folks. I think the Team Manitoba guys knew a lot about him, but not necessarily about everybody. So anyhow, the idea is that he's a really, really high IQ hockey player. He's got some nice skills. He's got to build up some body. He's got to get some weight. He's got to get some muscle. But in the meantime, if he can avoid getting crunched by some of those big defensemen out there, it'll be a good thing. So at the end of the day, good on Cole making that hockey team, and he's going to be a top player, just as Carson Carls was for Team Manitoba when he played for them on defense a few years ago.
Yeah, and just a bit more context into the Manitoba scene around the WHL draft age right now. Last year's class saw 39 Manitobans go, which was the
Yeah.
most. And both Cole and Gavin Hildebrand was a part of that. As for Gavin Hildebrand, of course, no WHL Cup roster appearance for him this year. But as for his team back in Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, Gordie, the male U17s, they were back in action this past week along with all the rest of the teams in the academy. They're going to be playing one game coming up on this Thanksgiving weekend. But yeah, take me back to the U17s past weekend of action down in Wilcox as well as Karen Point to open up the CSSHL regular season.
Yeah, the U17s had three games. Gavin was the starter in the first and third games, and both of them happened to be in Notre Dame. Yuki Kito, unfortunately, he got the best. He got the better of the two teams to play against. Prairie's a really strong team this year, and he was beaten 5-0. He had a great game. He was really good, but it's a heck of a squad. But Gavin, on the other hand, who had just got cut this past weekend before by Team Manitoba. And it was Gavin's, we text back and forth an awful lot and all year long. And, Gavin was the first time he's ever been cut on a team. He's always been kind of a top player. So being cut was kind of a new thing. We sort of, I know all of his support people, his parents, his coaches, Colin, Rick and the and Danny on the U17s would have walked him through and talked him through all of that. But he came back and not more disappointed than challenged to be even as good and high consistency and better and tougher than ever. And he went out and won a 4-3 shootout game in his first game, and and then won 2-0 in the return game on Sunday. So, Gavin Hildebrand is learning how to handle. We always call this adversity. I guess that was adversity being cut. Well, he handled that masterfully and helped his team get to 2 wins over the weekend. So good on him. Good on Yuki for playing really well and following in Gavin's footsteps nicely as the U7 teams did. Had a 2-1 record on the weekend.
Yeah, and for Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, as we take a look at who they'll be going up against next for this U17 squad, that'll be against Ed School. But Gordie, I mean, for this team to come away with a solid weekend going up against a really good squad in the Edge, going to be a home game as well. Must be a lot of confidence for this U17 team heading into this upcoming game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when you beat the arch rival Notre Dame Hounds twice, and no matter how you beat them, you win the games. Those are good. Those are confidence builders. You play decently against a powerhouse team in Prairie this year. So you know that you've got something going. You need to do more things. You need to be better. But at the end of the day, if you don't have confidence now, you're not going to. And I know Rick and Danny, the coaches, have been through this, and this is his 11th year in 11 years. And Danny, I think, is in his fourth or fifth year now with this team. And so, they understand what it takes to be in the top half of this CSSHL, these divisions, and they want to be in that upper half and play against the better players and be recognized as a better team. And so, yep, confidence is important. Playing hard is important. Getting better is important. And yeah, these are all good experiences for the boys.
Well, another chance to get better coming
Mhm.
up 3:30 p.m. this Saturday against the Edge. As for the U15s, Gordy, they were in action down in Calgary this past weekend for 2 games against Calgary International Hockey Academy and Edge School. Tough opening week of CSSHL regular season action for this Buff squad. How do they end up responding this past weekend?
Well, they tried hard to see this Calgary team it's like an NHL team, I think, almost. So they ran into a juggernaut, and that's all there is to it. To be able to keep the scores down a little bit will be what they can do. They happen to get them this next weekend again. I think I don't know if this was a nasty thing by the scheduling department of the league, knowing what they know now, but yeah, they get this team 4 times in a row, and that's almost unfair. But however, they just got to go out and try and get better and try and figure out what they got to do better. Probably play better defensively and try and score the odd goal on breaks and different things that happen because the other team is pressing too hard or doing whatever they're doing. So maybe learning more defensive hockey would be important. And Colin and Brad, the coaches, know that, and they'll get their chins up and they'll play hard and they'll try hard and they'll get better somewhere along the way. This may be too quick for them to respond, in a big way, but hopefully they'll get better a little bit as they come home to play 2 games against these guys on the weekend.
Yeah, hopefully you're able to come away with some little wins, some moral victories, right,
Yeah.
Gordy? And I mean, we've talked about this U15 squad quite a bit as all the rest of the teams in the academy, but a big talking point I'd say heading into this year is, of course, a lot of new kids on this year's team, only
Yep.
2 returnees. So, given that, Colin Fafara and Brad Platt, do we expect maybe some more creative coaching here as the season goes along, trying new things, or are we on track, sticking with the process, you'd say, as most teams do in the academy?
Yeah, I'm going to say that there's a process. Now, when we talk about process, there's a flexibility to it. I mean, the envelope isn't fixed, And so if we see that, they need work against some of these better teams, and you measure yourself against the better teams. You certainly want to, and because you measure yourself there, you play to that, you try and play up to that level. Guess what happens? You play better against the lower teams because now you know how to play better. You know what it takes to be stronger, tougher, meaner, more diligent, more respectful of the other team. You've got to change your habits. I mean, this is one thing about sports. When you've got a player or players that have habits this way, but the score is a bunch the other way, you better change your habits. And so these are good things to happen. Making mistakes and losing doesn't break if it doesn't break a person, then good on them to figure out how to be better. And again, we're not sending full teams to the Western Hockey League draft. We're sending individual players who play on teams, and everybody's trying to get better. And so, if that's the goal for the player to be a better player and get drafted, or at least be recognized, then they will be if they don't break under, the whatever pressure or whatever we're under here. So go have fun, try hard, learn. Be sure you got to learn and you got to change your game a little bit, but you'll be a better player and you'll be recognized for your effort along the way.
And for this group, going up against, like you said, a really good team in Calgary International Hockey
Oh,
Academy again this weekend. Both games at Black Jack Stewart Arena. They take on RHA Winnipeg on October 15th as well at Black Jack Stewart Arena. In terms of the U18 programs, Gordie, we'll I guess start off with talking about Sadie Swanton's team as her U18s in action in Shawnigan Lake, as we spoke about last week. They'll be back in action in Winnipeg coming up on this Friday at 4:15 p.m. But how'd they fare against the OHAs, the Delta Blacks of the world?
well, they did darn well against those two black teams. I mean, when you say Delta Black and OHA Black, normally those teams are, and they're pretty good. Our team did really well. We didn't win either game, but we played pretty well. I think we were tired having to play those two teams first, and then having to play another sort of juggernaut team. This Shawnigan Lake team normally isn't a powerhouse, but it appears that. They've done some recruiting. They've done some better. Maybe they've got more kids from local teams that are decided to come across to the island and play there. I don't know. We got to take a look at their roster and see where their players are from. But at the end of the day, that third game was a little bit of a blowout. However, the first two games were close, 2-1, 5-2. I mean, against substantially solid and long-term teams in the league. So good on our girls to play really hard, and they're getting it. Our girls' team is getting it. They're getting the defensive side of the game. They're keeping the puck out of the net. They're keeping the shots down a little bit, and they're getting chances to score. That'll happen. Those things will happen more often as the time goes by. Our coaches know that. We just got to hope the girls continue to be patient and learn. And when they're patient and they learn, they're going to be better.
Yeah, and it was only a 2-1 loss to
Yeah.
OHA Black, a 5-2 loss to
Yep.
Delta. So I mean, even dating back to last year, we talked about how this group with Kurt Fortney and Ryan Carroll's, they're looking to, of course, implement more of a defensive system. And we've seen that play out at certain points this year to their benefit more
Mhm.
times than not in some cases. So for this group, the U18 female side, no matter the results, like we always talk about, heading back to the process, more about just continuing to build that defensive play as the year goes along and continue to keep that compete up.
Yeah, and last year was if we go back to last year when they got on the bus and went to Thunder Bay, and they'd just been kicked by Thunder Bay pretty badly the weekend before and went up in Pilot Mound. They went out to Thunder Bay and won all four games because they spent some time going over a defensive strategy that, okay, and sometimes players resist change. Human nature is to resist change. Well, sorry, do you want to lose all your games again? Keep doing the same dumb thing and you're going to get the same result here. So let's go to something else, try it. And guess what? we won 4 games in a row out in Thunder Bay, and at times during the season last year, after that weekend, we did the same similar things, and we seemed to, it seemed to work out for us better. Not always in wins, but work out for us better, closer, and we learn something, and we're close, and it's competitive. That's all we're interested in, ultimately, is close and competitive and learning. And so hopefully all this will drag itself forward and we'll be continuing to get better as we play these other teams at home and then again on the road later on.
Yeah, and last time they faced off against Balmoral Hall, who's the upcoming opponent. That was back on September 28th. Looking for a bounce back against them coming up at
Yep.
the Hockey for All Center this Friday, as mentioned. But as for the U18 male side, Gordie, they were in action for the first time in their
Mhm.
season in general, down in Karen Point and Wilcox, playing against Prairie Hockey Academy in Notre Dame for the first couple of games that they played this year. Take me through how things ended up going for the
Yeah, I
U18.
think a win and a loss, I believe, and if my memory's not correct, you can correct me, Graham, if I'm out to lunch on that one. But at the end of the day, close games and a good start. I think a decent start. Didn't have any exhibition games, and so which came as a surprise. But so the players were all piss and vinegar in that this particular weekend, and they got some things done, and I think they showed pretty well for first games. And I know the other two teams had games prior, and so we were able to kind of get going without wasting a lot of time at the front end of these games and feeling our way through them. It was just get and go and do your thing. So good for the guys in the weekend and we're looking for better things, continuing to be better than last year and years prior in our fourth season. So good on Anthony and our new coaching staff to get this done.
Yeah, and they start off with loss being shut out, and then they bounce back with a 5-2 win
Yeah,
over Notre Dame. Gordy, they're going to be heading down to the States, I believe, for this upcoming weekend. I could be wrong on that. I'm trying to see.
yeah,
No, just kidding. That's Delta, British Columbia.
yep,
Just taking a look at how the CSSHL has it written. It's Planet Ice Delta American. So a
yep,
bit of confusion there from myself. But yeah, they're
yep.
going down to BC this Thanksgiving weekend. They're going to be playing three early morning games, all against Delta Hockey Academy, Wenatchee Wild, and Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy. Some familiar teams that this team is
Yep.
played last year and fared very well against. Delta Hockey Academy, usually pretty strong. Yeah, take us through the upcoming weekend for this U18 squad.
Well, again, I think we're looking forward to seeing different teams. Coeur d'Alene typically is kind of even up with us, somewhere in there. Wenatchee's up and down depending on the year. Delta's usually pretty strong. So, we're expecting a very strong Delta team. Wenatchee's good, and Coeur d'Alene is good. And we think we're good too. So we hope that we're going to be competitive in at least two of those three games and win one or two of them. I know our kids are always hoping to win all three. I think the reality is if we can win one, two, or two of them, and be competitive in all of them, that's a win going into the second week of the season and bodes well for moving forward. And that's always what we're trying to do. And of course, the players get the benefit of being recognized early in the season by scouts, by other coaches and other teams in other parts of the world, because the flow hockey games are watched everywhere, and these kids are looking to go to junior hockey or college hockey somewhere down the road, and this is the beginning of that for them. So we always encourage them to forget the score, work hard, keep your chin up, and go forward because someone's watching, and they want to watch the good stuff you do, not the negative stuff that you might do.
Yeah, and going to be quite a lot of opportunity for scouts to get to see this team in action this weekend, and whoever else may be watching as they play three down in Delta, British Columbia. It's about, I think, everything we got to talk about the games, Gordy. Anything on the marketing side, recruiting side that you'd like to update our viewers before we let you go here?
Yeah, I think we've got two of our sponsors are going to be dropping the puck for the first time. Opening game sponsor, part of our package that we have for our sponsors. I'm going to be guessing here that, and I'm the guy arranging it, so I shouldn't be guessing, but we're still working out some logistics. But on the weekend, I'm thinking that our Pilot Mound Pharmacy and Hometown View newspaper will be dropping pucks at the starting of one of the two of the games during the weekend that we have at Blackjack Stewart Arena. And then the following weekend, we're going to add some more. So we're going to do this on Flow TV. So we give our sponsors some promotional time, thank them for their contribution to the community effort that we make. That you've got to read the story about this Pilot Mound Hockey Academy and the family that goes into this and realize why the sponsors are putting their money in to this. They get some recognition, but certainly they're promoting a wonderful organization that does so much for the entire community, so many different avenues, so many different arms of the community that they support that no one really pays attention to or knows about. And I won't go into length here, but that's what it's all about. And our sponsors are kind enough to throw a bit of cash or goods in kind to us, and and we benefit. And then the kids outside the academy, the kids outside the academy, the minor hockey, and we hope the figure skaters and the ringette people all enjoy some extra opportunity with our academy program.
Oh, right on, and great to see local businesses supporting the local team down in Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. Plenty of action going to be going down in Pilot Mound, Manitoba this weekend. U18 male side, they're going to be out in Delta, British Columbia. Female side going to be in Winnipeg for one game, as mentioned. Be sure to check out pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com for all the details if you've missed them here. But Gordie, thanks so much for taking the time. As always, we'll chat again next week about the Buffaloes, recruiting, marketing, and whatever else.
One last thing, Graham. Graham's G Show Productions is a major contributor and partner to this show. So for those of you who, don't know all this, you can see our logos on our website and whatnot. And again, G Show Productions is a major player for Pilot Mount Hockey, and we thank Graham for all the work that he does on our behalf.
Thanks, Gordie. And great to be joined by Gordie Tumilson on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast for season 3 here in episode number 5. And yeah, as we take a look back at the past few games for the team in the academy, as for the U15s, as me and Gordie talked about, going up against Calgary International Hockey Academy, the Buffaloes in those games, as we just noticed that the scores aren't posted on the actual website. But yeah, as for this U15 squad, as we try to find their exact results, ended up being a big loss for them. Or no, sorry, they don't have anything reported here on the actual website. Be sure to check out the final scores for all of these games on pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com. You can catch them on Flow Sports as well all season long. But yeah, just a recap of our schedule from, I guess, the upcoming schedule. Sorry, this is the upcoming schedule for this weekend. Oh, my mind's all over the place right now. But as for the U15s, they ended up, suffering 2 big losses this past weekend. As we take a look at the U17 program, as they had some action for themselves. Let's get to Pilot Mound's U17 squad. And yeah, a weekend where this team ends up winning 2 of their 3 games, both wins coming against the Notre Dame Hounds, lost to Prairie Hockey Academy, as me and Gordie Tumilson talked about. For the U17s, they're going to be back in action coming up, of course, this weekend for one game at Blackjack Stewart Arena against the Edge Prep School. And as for the U15s, they're going to be facing off against Calgary International Hockey Academy for 2 back-to-back matchups this upcoming weekend. As for the male U18s, as we've talked about them already, and we take a look at their full scores from the past weekend of action, and big news about that team coming up soon here. But yeah, as for the U18s, they, of course, as me and Gordie Tumilson talked about, came away with a loss against Prairie Hockey Academy. They lost 6-0, but a very nice response against the Notre Dame Hounds. Of course, for this U18 squad, they'll be back in action coming up this weekend in Deltich, British Columbia, to take on Delta Hockey Academy, Wenatchee Hockey Academy, and Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy as well. All those games can be seen on Flow Sports, on Flow Hockey. And as for the female Buffs in their only game from this past weekend, or their past few games, sorry. Let me take a look. They faced off against 3 teams, as mentioned by myself and Gordie Tumilson. Came away with 2 decent losses. They were competitive in both those games. Lost 2-1 to Okanagan Hockey Academy Black, then 5-2 against Delta Hockey Academy Black. Shawnigan Lake, however, not as nice to Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, as they ended up beating them 10-0. Pilot Mound on this Thanksgiving weekend, on Thanksgiving Friday, is going to be, or on the Friday of Thanksgiving weekend, is going to be taking on Balmoral Hall at the Hockey for All Center. Be sure to check it out on Flow Hockey, on Flow Sports, if you're able to, and you're able to find some time on, I'm sure, for everyone. That's Canadian, at least, a busy weekend coming up, as that's our Thanksgiving coming up this weekend. But as for the women's U18 provincial team, if you notice a name here, Sadie Swanton from Dauphin, Manitoba. She's also on this year's Pilot Mound Buffaloes squad for the U18 female prep side. She ended up making it all the way to the final cuts and ended up making it through to become an official member of this year's provincial team. That women's national tournament is going to be starting early November in Newfoundland, Labrador. I had a chance to ask Sadie about the preparation for those tryouts, what the tryout process was like, her excitement to be able to play with the talent she'll play with on what looks like a stacked Manitoba team this season. We also talk about what her journey's been like now into her second year in Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. So please join me in welcoming in one of Pilot Mound's finest from their U18 female program, in Sadie Swanton, here on this Wednesday afternoon as the Buffaloes podcast continues here in Season 3 for Episode 5. It's a returning defenseman to Pilot Mound Hockey Academy's U18 female prep squad, but more notably recently, the newest member of the Team Manitoba U18 women's national squad, Sadie Swanton. Sadie, first off, congratulations on being able to make Team Manitoba, going through the tryout process and being one of the final members to make that team. What was going through your head when you got the announcement that you'd made it?
I think overall I was just really excited. It's like a really big accomplishment that I've been like dreaming about since I was little, I guess. So it was just really exciting.
I mean, I couldn't even imagine getting the news that you're going to be able to represent your province coming up here in November. But talk about the work, like you said, a dream you've been working towards, the off season, everything leading up into camp for you to perform the way you were able to.
Yeah, I think Pilot Mound has helped me a lot. Like last year, there was lots of skating and workouts that got me to where I am when I was at the tryouts. So I think that helped a lot. And then just in the summer, also just putting in the work in the gym and shooting pucks and whatever like that. So
Yeah, working on your game, of course, like you mentioned, the reps you got down at Pilot Mound Hockey Academy last year, vital into the development that you've seen in your game. But once you actually got into the tryout process, were there much nerves going through your mind through the first skate? Take me through what that tryout process was like.
I mean, yeah, there was probably a bit of nerves for sure. I feel like at every tryout you get a little bit nervous, so I think that's a good thing. But um, yeah, I just tried to do my best and show them what I can do.
And being recognized as one of the top players from Manitoba this year, being named to the squad, and you're going to have a chance to play with other top end players from around the province. How excited are you for that opportunity? You kind of went through playing with new players the season before at Pilot Mound. Now you get a chance with players from other places here with your home province.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to play against with the girls that you play against during the season, and just to get to know them and play with different people is always nice.
Yeah, and of course, in preparation for the upcoming women's nationals, I know it doesn't start until November, but what's been the MO put out by the coaching staff? What's the schedule looking like now at this point, heading into the preparation for that tournament in November?
I think just stick with the games with Pilot Mound and just try to keep getting better leading up to that and stay healthy and just so we're ready for it.
Yeah, and of course, you'll have a chance to get ready for that event in November, coming up with plenty of games with your Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy squad. Take me back to that rookie year last year. Like you said, the development you saw in your game was huge in terms of just everything Pilot Mountain offered, but how that first year really truly went along for yourself.
Yeah. I think at the start it was a bit tough because everything was new and just getting to know all the new players that I've never played with or met before. But as the year went on, like we all started to click, and then that just helps because then you're more comfortable, and then it's easier to like work on your game and just focus on you while like your team is supporting you. So that was really good. And then just coaches and the trainer, it's always good to have people that support you, I guess.
Oh, for sure. And of course, the support is pretty evident down in Pilot Mound, the care they put into the program from the Collins family to the coaches, of course. But given that last year, obviously, this team going through the struggles, getting to learn from each other, learn about one another. How would you say that last season, your first year, living away from home, even though you were in the same province that you grew up in, but how that kind of shaped you and molded you heading into your first off season off of Pilot Mound?
I think when you're away from home, you appreciate it more when you go home. So in the summer, I just tried to enjoy time with family, but also just improve my hockey game. So that was
Nice. And for this season, as you've started off, your team's already played a bunch of games already. But for yourself, Sadie, a goal and an assist in for 2 points in 8 games played. Take me through what you felt your start has entailed so far this year in terms of how you've been able to go out and do your thing with this Buffalo squad.
I think it's been pretty good. You gotta first few games, you're just trying to get used to playing with all these new girls and get them used to playing in like the CS and the games that we play. So it was good. I think so far we're just building off of it. So
Yeah, and we've seen this team be competitive in quite a few games this season. But take me through that, I guess, not only the excitement, but just the challenge this season, knowing that this whole group that's coming back and the newcomers trying to improve off of last season's results.
yeah, there's not too many returners. So I think for the new girls, there was a bit of an adjustment period. So they're just getting used to it. And I think they're doing pretty good so far. So we're just trying to build off our last games and get better each game.
And of course, you're one of those returning players. How have you felt that you've been able to settle into that role so far? Kind of knowing the ins and outs of how the academy is, how it operates and how you've been able to kind of pass along that knowledge so far to the newcomers.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good so far. Like when you're coming back, you kind of know what you're doing for the most part. So if they have questions, you can always ask and help them out.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, for yourself, Sadie, you're going to have a wealth of knowledge to, at your disposal to allow for these players to learn from you and from each other this season coming up. But like you said, a dream of yours was to make Team Manitoba this year. Dream accomplished. You're back at Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. So that being said, kind of sitting back and thinking about it, what's kind of the big goals you're setting for yourself moving forward here in year two?
I would say just keep playing my game, and then hopefully next year there's an opportunity to play Team Manitoba again, so that's probably a goal for me. And then I guess the future after that, I hope to play college hockey somewhere. So
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a pretty darn good chance of that happening as long as you keep on, developing your game and getting better out there with Pilot Mound, which you'll have plenty of opportunity to do that this season. Sadie Swanton coming off of a year where she put up 13 points in 30 CSSHL games, looking to potentially get over that mark this season. But Sadie, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure getting to talk to you, as this is our second time meeting now. And yeah, best of luck in Nationals coming up in November too.
awesome. Thank you.
And that's Sadie Swanton making a return here to this podcast as she joined me last year's episode, one of our episodes in last year's podcast for season 2. Great to see her again in season 3, and great to see her on this year's Team Manitoban team, dream, like she said, that she was working towards. And it pays off for young Sadie Swanton, the Dauphin Manitoba product. Beat out some pretty solid defensemen to make this team too. Charlie Shearer from the Westman Wildcats made it all the way to the final cuts, as well as a player in Lucy Ring. Lucy Ring ends up making the squad. Just taking a look at players that end up not making it onto the team. So I believe they only cut one defenseman in Charlie Shearer, so she's able to beat her out. And Sadie Swanton's going to be playing with a ton of skill on that blue line. Vaderigo, Defenseman of the Year last year in the MFHL, broke the single-season points record set by a defenseman about 15 years before Veda breaks that. Aaliyah Texier, captain of the Winnipeg Ice, really good two-way defenseman, as well as players like Atisa Sobering, Lucy Ring, and Hudson Bradley as well. Thinking Sadie should fit in pretty nice there. Team Manitoba, they're stacked up front. Two really good goaltenders, probably the two best you could argue that they could have taken. And yeah, Sadie looking to leave her mark this year on this squad, as as she mentioned, for the time being, just going to be focusing on playing games and getting ready for this event, which is going to be taking place in early November in Newfoundland, Labrador. But as the road continues for Sadie to get prepped for her Team Manitoba appearance this year on that squad, she's going to get a chance to a nice tune-up along with the rest of her team against Balmoral Hall. Not just a tune-up, but a regular season matchup, of course, as Provincial Pride on the line here on the early Friday evening at 4:15 p.m. I guess late Friday afternoon is when the puck is going to drop there. Be sure to check it out on Flow Hockey on Flow Sports if you're unable to make it down to the rink. As for a player from Pilot Mound's U18 squad, his name's Knox Burden. Quite a name there. But yeah, scored 4 goals to help Pilot Mound Hockey Academy win their first game of the season this past weekend, as we'll take a look at those 4 tucks from Knox coming up now. This video, by the way, this footage courtesy of Flow Hockey. Oh, just noticed I was muted. But Knox Burden, yeah, 4 tucks, looked really good on all of them, scored in many different ways. In that victory that Pilot Mound had, 5-2 win over the Notre Dame Hounds is for Knox and his squad, as already mentioned and shown here. They're going to be taking on 3 matchups for them this upcoming weekend against Delta Hockey Academy, Wenatchee Hockey Academy, and Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy. All games can be seen on Flow Sports, on Flow Hockey. Our schedule is brought to you by Canacom Group Travel. We're going to send it to a Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia commercial break, and then I'll be back here for some more news from around the academy, more things that have been going down, as well as some final words on Episode 5, Season 3 of the Buffaloes podcast. Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry upper deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Ken Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. And welcome back to this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, Season 3, Episode 5. I've been joined by Gordie Tumilson today, as well as Sadie Swanton. As Sadie, new member of this year's Team Manitoba U18 Provincial team in the Program of Excellence, as that team will be set to drop the puck on their Women's Nationals coming up in early November in Newfoundland, Labrador, as Sadie, along with the rest of her new Manitoba teammates, look to make Manitoba proud coming up, hoping that they can come away with a medal. A lot of skill on that team, and Sadie a really nice compliment there, which I'm sure, she'll be looking to leave her mark against all the different provinces that they'll be going up against. But as for news from the female program, as well as all the programs in Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, having student athletes competing in some cross-country events, as it was JV girls, varsity girls, medals for Avery Crow and Kira Vines, Crow with the gold, Vines with the silver, Tucker Durkach and Brock Vauden both placed in top 2 in the junior varsity boys category, and then Christian Cabby earning first in the varsity boys category. So Pilot Mound, the kids over there, the young women and men showcasing that they are in fact versatile athletes. It takes me back to my high school days. Did a bit of track and some cross country, so a bit nostalgic seeing, post about that sport. But this is kind of funny. So yeah, Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, please get me out there. I'll happily play for you if you have 2001 born players playing for your program. But all jokes aside, this is just a typo. Reed Pal Marchuk is actually a 2011 born forward for this Buffaloes team. And for Reed, he was a part of Get to Know a Buffalo last week, as they post pictures of players, fun facts about them, 5 simple questions that are answered about every week to showcase 4 different players throughout their programs. As we take a look here, Bladen Norton, Luca LaForges, and of course U18 female player in Sophie Drummond, all featured. Be sure to check all of this out at PM Buffaloes on their Instagram. They also, I'm sure, post them all over their other social media platforms. But as we bring our partners onto the board here, but as for the academy coming up, as already mentioned, and I can't believe I did this to myself, me and Gordie Tumilson just talked about these games coming up, and I was thinking, for some reason in my head, these were games from the past weekend, but in fact they weren't. Looks like I got fine-tune my reading. I was a bit confused at the start of this episode about how the schedule was up. But yeah, these are the games for the upcoming weekend of games for all teams in the academy. The U15s will be in action at Blackjack Stewart Arena for 2 games against Calgary International Hockey Academy. U17 staying home on Saturday to take on Edge School at Blackjack Stewart Arena. Delta Hockey Academy, Wenatchee Hockey Academy, and Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy all on deck for the U18s to face down in Delta, British Columbia on their Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. And as for Pilot Mound and Balmoral Hall, the 2 female U18 prep programs will be going at it at 4:15 p.m. coming up at Hockey for All Center this Friday in the late afternoon stages of this Friday at 4:15 p.m. If you can't make it down to the rink, as I've said all episode long and really all season long, be sure to check out Flow Sports, Flow Hockey, as they are the official broadcaster of the CSSHL, and you'll be able to watch all the games through that service, so be sure to check it out. We're going to end this week's edition of the Buffaloes podcast here. I've been your host, Graeme, the G Show Forsyth. Thank you to Gordie Tumilson as well as Sadie Swanton once again for coming on the show and being the guests. Thank you to Pilot Mound's sponsors as well as their partners for supporting the Academy and supporting us here on G Show Productions, and to our main sponsors in Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico Movement, Fitness and Performance, Goaltenders, and Terrico for continuing to support us as well. We'll be back next Wednesday for an all-new edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Details will be out on gshow.ca as well as on our social media platform on Instagram. We also have details up from just upcoming stuff that's going to be continuing to happen as this week goes along here, as we finally get into Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. To all of our Canadian viewers, we hope you have a wonderful one. For the Americans that may be watching this, well, your Thanksgiving won't be coming up until in November, but still hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And to anyone else that's watching too, hope you guys have a safe, entertaining weekend of just consuming hockey, relaxing, whatever you may need to do to get that body right heading into the next week, right? But we'll have Tyson Unroe end us off with the March of the Buffaloes theme, as always, here on the Buffaloes podcast. Is episode 5, season 3, officially in the books. We'll see you next Wednesday for season 3, episode 6. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Take care.